So, welcome back everyone. This is episode 5 now of the Move Better, Feel Better, Live Better series. And this week, because of a lot of questions, I've decided to focus in a little bit on the lower back. So we're going to do a 3-parter on the lower back. So we're going to do one part on the lower back, one part on the mid back, and one part all about the neck. I'm going to talk about ways to mobilize the back, that part of the back. We're going to talk about ways to start strengthening things up around that area, and ways to prevent injury and to maintain as a pain-free zone as possible. It's great for people who are working from home and perhaps are getting a little bit of discomfort in the back, and it's great for anyone who's working out and wants to work a little bit through the back to feel a little bit better. So we'll move straight onto the exercises. We'll jump straight into exercise 1. So exercise 1 is something you may have seen before, and it's just the first level of mobilization for the lower back. We're focusing on the lower back today. So on all fours, okay, you want to start with your knees and feet open and apart, hands above your shoulders above your hands, and then you just want to round the back, cat camel, up and down. Okay, and that's where we're going to start from. You're going to transition immediately into feet on ankles and come down, bum towards your ankles. And again, I'll show you the transition. So it's cat camel, feet apart, and it's ankles locked, up and down. Great, that's exercise 1. Okay, so second combination of exercises, you want to get down on the floor again, and then the leg positioning is really important. So you want to have ankle flat on the floor, knee flat on the floor, hand underneath the shoulder. Now we're going to start bringing some rotation into the lower back. So it's not just a linear, but it's rotational movements as well. So you want to come through the hole, threading the needle, and then opening up. Through the hole, threading the needle, opening up. This is a really great one for that lower back. Okay, same again on the other side. So you're threaded again, hips are locked, hand underneath the shoulder, you're threading the needle, coming through, coming back up. Threading the needle, coming through, coming back up. Fantastic, and that's a bit of rotation for the lower back. One of a number of options, but it's a great one to get started with. So exercise 2. So now we want to give the hip flexors and hips some love. Remember, if you're sitting down all day, you're crunched in this kind of position, hips are going to get super locked up. So you want to be doing some work to open it up. It doesn't have to be plates, anything you want, just to raise your foot slightly. You want to have one leg in front of you, other foot behind, with your toes raised, super important, and pulling towards you. Now what you want to do is squeeze the bum, squeeze the core. Hands out in front of you, and rotate away. You'll feel a nice opening stretch through the hip flexor on the front, over there. So it's rotation, back to midline. Rotation, back to midline. 10 to 15 reps of that. Hands on the chest. Then you're just going to do some drop-aways. Basically, it's any movement that's going to open up that hip area. So I like to do rotation, side bending. Great. Okay, so next group of exercises are going to be a bit more on strengthening. So not strengthening the core per se, but that whole block of area over there. We're going to move to 3 really simple exercises called the big 3. And I want you to start with an isometric variation. So you're basically doing a raise and hold. And then we're going to move into a movement-based variation, okay? So 3 super simple exercises. So the first thing I want you doing is just a crunch variation. It's feet flat on the floor there, open slightly, hands on your chest, and I'd just like you to raise up slightly, hold there, and feel that slight burn in your core. So it's a very, very basic, easy exercise to start when we're starting on that. As you start getting stronger, I want you to move your legs down, and just bring the hands up and back down, and we'll move into this moving variation. Okay, let's exercise. So exercise 2 from the strengthening series for the lower back. I want you going into all fours again, and we're going to start on a bird dog variation. So basically all you want to do is nice and tight from the core, ribs tucked in, okay, nice and straight. I like to tell people, imagine you have a glass of water on your back and you're not going to let it drop, okay? And what you're looking for to start is just to straighten leg and arm, and in the beginning, as you're building up, just hold that position, okay? So I normally like starting on 2 sets of 30 seconds, building up to 5 sets of 30 seconds. As you get better of that, you can start moving into movement. So that would be more like that, alternating sides. Okay, as that gets easier, you can bring your knees off the floor and try a variation where you're bringing one leg up or even one arm up. Good stuff. So same thing as when we were talking about mobility, we spoke about rotation-based exercise. We're going to work on something that targets the obliques now and rotation-based exercise as well. So the best way to start this out is knees bent, push your bum forwards, you're as straight as possible, and you're just raising up and holding. That's variation 1. Again, start on the isometrics, on the holds, 2 sets of 30 seconds, going up towards 5 sets of 30 seconds. As that gets easier, we're going to move up into a straight leg variation, arms straight. Great stuff. Next progression, same thing, coming up and down. So these will all be progressive A, B, C as things get easier. If you really want to make this challenging, it's up, rotate, up and drop. Up, rotate, up and drop. And that's it. So once again, thanks for the attention and following on to the end. If you see the progression, it's very logical. You want to mobilize all the areas, and then you want to find simple ways to strengthen. It's not a target everyone approach. I've tried to give a couple of variations where everyone can find something which is challenging for them. Play around with your sets and reps. The more sets, the more reps, the more challenging it's going to be. The more movement involved, the more joints moving, the tougher it's going to be. Main thing, make sure you're working pain-free when you're strengthening your back and your core. And happy days. If anyone needs any one-on-one motivation or intervention, make sure you let me know for online consultations. I'll see you all next week.